beaver hoop, how to hoop out a beaver once it's all fleshed, scut and fleshed. Usually I'll try to use the hoops on beavers that are say under 30 pounds, the smaller ones. Generally they're going to fall into maybe the large, medium classes, and the hoops are strong enough basically to hold them without having too much loss, and it's a real quick, easy way to do them. Anything bigger than that, you're going to want to try to do it on a board to get the max stretch from there. So hoops are basically just 1/4 inch spring rod. They got a slide and a lock. To start off, I usually want to give myself at least a couple inches of overlap when I put the green fur up next to it. I want it to be relatively loose when I start. Makes it easier to put the hooks in. I'll get the majority of the hooks in, and then I'll tighten it. So you start at the bottom, right, or top, doesn't matter, I guess. What you're going to want to do, you get the lock and the slide. You can put a few hooks in here, but you're going to want to leave some space by each of these so that you can compress it, stretching out the beaver later. So I'm going to put a couple hooks in up at the nose, one at the bottom. Always put the nose or the tail, your preference, between the slide and the lock. This portion's not going to bend or flex as it dries, therefore you're going to when it does dry, it'll flex in the center, and it'll give you that oval shape, which is the industry standard. Most of these furs are actually graded via computer, so they just measure the cubic centimeter, but you still want them to be that, nose, tail, center, hind leg, front leg. Just you keep bouncing back and forth. Now up here I'm pretty close to the block, so what I'm going to do is I can go a little off center. You can put it as close as you want outside of it, because you're only going to try to get tighter. Come up here, other side. This beaver here is only about a 15-pounder, so it's a perfect candidate for the hoops. They're nice because they dry faster on a hoop by maybe a day or so. Good air circulation. Allows you to take and brush out the fur, make them look real pretty. But for the most part, you're going to want to keep it to, I wouldn't say small beavers, just smaller ones. When you get up into those 3XL, 40, 50-pound beavers, you want to put them on a board. A lot of times they won't even fit on this. I think the biggest beaver you can get on here is about 40 pounds. When that's the case, the slide and the lock are right next to each other. And anytime you're in that situation, it's not as stretched as it could be. And with beavers, size is king. So take and go in here. I got it about right. I'm going to take and put a few hooks in, well, plastic block. Get this, because I'm not going to be able to, when I close this, I'm only going to be able to move it about an inch, maybe, when I'm done. But that inch will add several inches to the overall diameter of the finished pelt, so it's definitely worth it. You might be able to bump, a medium into a medium-large category, or a small into a medium, which could be worth a few bucks. If you put, say, a 3X on a hoop, generally you're going to end up with a 2X, and that could be very costly, unless I haven't been able to find any hoops bigger than these. But I still like putting big ones on the board. These little ones it's quick, it's easy. Dries them real nice. going to have hooks about every half inch when I'm done. Probably almost 150 hooks on this. When I'm done, you can actually contort this, create a little slack, and unhook them that way. Don't be trying to pull them out or you'll tear every single one out. So you just compress the ring. When these dry, it's literally going to be like a snare drum. Got it here, got some space there. Once I get it down to where I have a hook maybe every 2 inches, get rid of these larger areas here. That's when I'm gonna tighten up the hoop and then put the rest of the hooks in. If you you know, you only catch a couple of beavers a year, whatnot, it's not a bad investment to have these. They're easy to store. You know, the big boards take up a little bit more space. You know, everything has its advantages and disadvantages. I have about 2 dozen hoops. That way it'll keep me, I can pop the little ones on there and then just take and put all the big ones on the board. So, alright, I think we got it pretty close to get it set up here. Got that, maybe one right here that's a little wide. If you get an area that's a little wide and you tighten it up, you're going to end up running the risk of tearing the pelt out when you actually go in to put the additional hooks in. And, you know, but if you keep it 1.5 inches or so away, you're able to, it's already stretched enough that you can get those hooks in there. You'll find out that I started off pretty loose. This is actually getting pretty tight. So, take my extra hooks, put them right here, loosen the lock, and give it a good tighten that up. But now it's about as tight. I'm not going to be able to get much more, even if I really wrangled it. And then I come in, and if you got a bigger hoop like this and it's already tightened, don't go to the center to put a hook in. At this point, put it in on the side, and you can draw that closed without tearing it. Every 1/2, 3/4 of an inch, both sides. What you're trying to do is avoid what they call scalloping. If this was to dry right now, you'd get a divot in between each of these larger gaps. What happens, they measure it nose to tail, and in width, usually I think it's up by the shoulders, but nose to tail, from the closest point. So if you got a divot like that, they measure it from the inside of the divot, not the outside. You could easily lose 1 inch or more each direction, and a couple inches can pull you out of a class, drop you a class, drop you a grade. You could go from a grade 1 to a grade 1-2 or even a grade 2 if it looks all messed up. They want uniformity. They want beavers need to be big. They need to have no holes. When you flush them, this is the golden triangle, so to speak, is right here. This portion gets cut off, this portion gets cut off. That's what they use, is basically, that's the market for. You put a hole in there, you might get a hole away with a small hole. It might only cost you 25%. You get a big hole in there, you're going to lose probably 75% of the pelt. Couple of holes, you're going to go into the damage class, in which case, you know, anything other than a 3XL, you'll be down to about $8, $9 a beaver. So it's care when you flesh, and the reality is you can't really put too many hooks, but you definitely can have too few. So once I get it to about here, I'm going to just take and I'll just go all the way around the edge, put a hook in. Anywhere where it looks a little wide, put another hook in. Usually it's easier. I had it set up before. Just toss a bunch of them in the center. Just go to town. You actually end up with some very pretty looking pelts on here. They're perfectly symmetrical, you know, which takes a little bit of technique to get that when you're dealing with a board. Although that's what the stencils on the boards help you with. You don't have to guess which ring to use, which is something that on occasion I'll struggle with on a board, trying to choose which exact diameter ring to use. I'll get 20 nails in and I'll find out that I might have got a little bit greedy on trying to get it a little bit big, or not aggressive enough, and so it's a real good way when you're starting off. This is a really good way to start. I've done hundreds of beavers, but right now this year was a little slow on the, somewhere in the 40s, maybe 50. I have to get a final count later. And after you do a few, you start getting used to doing it. You get the guys that hardcore beaver trappers, you know, might do 3, 4, 500 of these in a year. One hand, that'd be pretty cool. On the other hand, I don't know. It's a lot of beavers are a little labor intensive. They're definitely worth it, especially given the prices. We're finally starting to get some of the prices that these pelts are worth. Gotta thank NAFA for that one. They've been doing a really good job of being advocates for our sports and holding the lines on the prices. I mean, it is an auction format, but you don't have to, if the price is unreasonable, NAFA won't sell it to them. Hold it until somebody's willing to pay what the pelt's worth. That's what we need. A lot of work goes into getting these, and about time we're getting decent payback for that work. That's my plug for North American Fur Auctions. Almost done here. Not too bad. My jibber jabber has probably slowed me down a little bit. Be careful on the underside so you don't stick it through your finger. These are pretty sharp little hooks. I haven't done it in a while, but at one point I put one right through my finger. I suppose that's the learning curve, though. Alright, almost done. I always said beavers look like they're a lot more work than they actually are. You know, you come up and you look at a beaver on a board or a beaver on a hoop and you're like, holy crap. It's really not that hard. So, almost there. The nose actually, that's the loosest part of the skin is right up here. It will dry, hard as a rock, but it just generally doesn't pull as much as the rest of the pelt. I put a lot thatch doer. That is a hooped up beaver. Tight as a drum. And they hang nice. Put a hook in the ceiling, away you go. It's actually a very, very nice pelt on that little plug here. This will grade out very well, it just isn't very big. It's got nice uniform, it's probably brown, but nice uniform guard holes, guard hairs, no holes. So, another one down. Next one, I will put one on the board. Hopefully that was helpful.